A chocolate door was blocking the path. Now, how would a very small piglet open such a door? Perhaps melting the chocolate would do the trick. A heffalump door. If only Piglet could frighten away the heffalump in this room, it's certain that the door would open. The bottle was far too high for Piglet to use by himself. This was certainly not the moment for trying to use it. My goodness, what a lot of buzzing bees! If only Piglet could attract them towards something, another hive, perhaps, then they would most certainly leave. The cupboard appeared locked. Our friend Piglet would need to find the key. Unfortunately, Piglet was unable to go through this passage, for you see, it was blocked by a mountain of cotton candy. What could he do to remove this rather sticky mess? Piglet could see that Rue's ball was stuck at the top of the ladder. However, a missing rung prevented him from reaching it. A paper door showing a heffalump in the shape of a bee. Piglet now knew what he had to do to open this door, and so Piglet was able to reach the honey. Now he could easily fill an entire honey pot. Piglet would have to make 3 steps appear. But how should he go about it? A beehive in a hole in the ground? What a curiosity! If Piglet were to cover the hole and conceal the hive, perhaps the bees would come looking for it. And so Piglet found himself stuck behind the cardboard gate. He knew that finding the correct pull tab would make the gate disappear. The only question now was how to locate the pull tab. A heffalump door. If only Piglet could frighten away the heffalumps in this room, it's certain that the door would open. The way was blocked by a rock, drawn in pencil and charcoal. Perhaps erasing it would be enough. Now Tigger had the same cardboard gate in front of him. He would also have to find the corresponding pull tab to make the gate disappear. The door was closed, and Piglet could not open it. He was quite sure this courtyard reminded him of something. But what could it be? A chessboard, perhaps? Well, would you look at that? The pile of books could almost be a staircase, if only the steps were a little more like, well, steps. And so the first step appeared. Now all Piglet needed to do was to make the other 2 emerge. The torn piece was now covered in glue. All that remained was to place a piece of cardboard over it. Oh dear, the pull tab had been torn. Piglet would have to repair it in order to pull out the 3rd step. If only he had some glue and a piece of cardboard. Piglet had pushed that book right to the end of the shelf. Nothing further could be done with it. That book had already been pushed. Piglet could do little else with it. Only one more step, and Piglet would complete the staircase. Chess! Surely by moving the right piece into place, Piglet could win the game. Undoubtedly, a painting once hung from this hook. All that remained was for Piglet to find the painting and return it to its original hook. Piglet now knew that to open doors he would have to be very brave. A wax stamp sealed the parchment. With a little heat, Piglet would certainly be able to melt the seal and open the parchment. Oh yes, this was where one of Owl's 2 missing paintings once hung. Finding this painting and restoring it to the original hanging place was just the task for our brave little Piglet. As he moved forward, Piglet noticed a grandfather clock. There was something rather strange about this clock. The glass case was locked. Most certainly our little friend must find the key to that lock. Piglet would have to make the statues disappear. But how should he go about it? Now Piglet looked at this rather odd object, asking himself what it could be, and as he looked, it came to him. It was a hook. As the candle had gone out, all that remained for Piglet to do was to light it again. Surely someone would be able to help him. Piglet came upon what appeared to be a treasure map. However, it was missing a piece. Now all that Piglet needed to do was find that piece of the map. All Piglet had to do was to use a candle. If he wanted to light up the candlestick, Piglet would have to find a lamp to relight the candle. Piglet was able to see the ball of colour in the bottle. He would have liked to take it back to Eeyore, but how could he possibly uncork the bottle? The rusty old gate was locked. All Piglet had to do was find the key which would open it. Now why was the carpet rolled up? And if it was unrolled, do you suppose Piglet would be able to reach Owl's book of memories? Piglet could see that there was a flag with a symbol of a sword on the wall. And then Piglet came to a rather peculiar statue. The statue was holding a ball of colour, which he wanted very much. If only he could make the statue's arms open. But how? Piglet wanted very much to catch the ball of colour bobbing in the fountain. He would first need to stop the water from bubbling. But how? At the base of the fountain there was a sort of hole in which he could put something. But what to put there? On the wall, Piglet noticed a flag with the symbol of a fleur-de-lis. Unfortunately, the cord was too high for our small friend Piglet to pull. How was he to reach it? On the wall, Piglet noticed a flag with a symbol of a shield. What a rather strange picture. Well, it certainly should be straightened. But how would Piglet go about doing that? The stained glass window on the wall portrayed a knight with a sword, a shield, and a fleur-de-lis on his chest plate. In front of Piglet was the garden of giant beans. However, the wooden gate was locked, so he would have to find the key. Some pressure was hitting the valve, but not nearly enough. Piglet had to turn the correct faucets. Through a small gap in the closed curtains, Piglet caught a glimpse of another room. But the curtains were far too heavy for Piglet to push open on his own, and there was no curtain cord that he could pull. Now, how were these curtains to be opened? From the drawings, it was clear that Piglet would need to open and close different faucets, thus causing the pressure to build up and the valve to blow. The door was locked, and finding the key was what Piglet needed to do to open it. The valve would not budge. Piglet told himself that he should try to find another way of removing it. Piglet found the machine which Rabbit had spoken of, the extractor for pulling up carrots. Unfortunately, it was broken and not of much use. How could Piglet set about repairing it? Pressure was hitting the valve, but it was still not enough to make it pop off. Coal is very useful, but it is also extremely messy. Our little friend Piglet could certainly find a use for it, if only he had a shovel. As long as the boiler was empty, the switch would not light up. The door was locked. All Piglet would have to do was find the key. How very curious. In between the cogs, there was an empty space. Obviously, something was missing. It's very curious that only this baby giant bean plant had not grown. Perhaps it needed to be watered. Unfortunately, without any coal, the boiler would not work. What is this contraption? Piglet wondered. Perhaps it was to water the garden. But it was only turned towards one baby giant bean plant. Now, why do you suppose that was? Machinery needs wheels and cogs to operate. Surely catching the small runaway cogs would help Piglet repair Rabbit's extractor. Due to his rather small size, Piglet would not be able to cross unless he found something to help him fly. The snow was no longer falling, and the sun was shining brightly, but Piglet was faced with the problem of how to get through the huge pile of snow. Could he find a way to melt it? And so Piglet arrived to the entrance of a carnival. But, as with all carnivals, an entry ticket would be necessary to pass the turnstile. A large heap of snow was blocking the way. Piglet would need to clear a path through it to make his way to Tigger's house. Piglet could not work out how to operate the mechanism that would lower the bridge. And then he noticed a hole, but it seemed to be missing something. How very curious. I believe there was a bird with a key just above Piglet. And as keys are so very useful to piglets, maybe if he put something more interesting on the ground, the bird would give the key to him. What could Piglet find that would interest the bird more? And so Piglet filled the boiler full of coal. Turning it on should be very easy, if only Piglet could find the switch. It was such a blustery day that a large amount of autumn leaves had piled up and were blocking Piglet's path. These needed to be cleared away, and there was nothing better for the task than a broom. The iron gate was closed, but it did not have a lock. Piglet thought this was very odd. He knew something else would have to be done. On the woozle go-round, one of the woozles was holding a mirror. The painting depicting summer was missing the sun symbol. Piglet thought that perhaps by turning the woozle go-round, it would help to better reflect the sun's rays on the snow. A leaf symbol was missing from the painting depicting autumn. On the winter painting, a snowflake symbol was missing. The woozle with the mirror on the woozle go-round would need to be opposite the pile of snow if the snow was to melt. The candlestick had gone out. All Piglet had to do was to use a candle to light it up again. And Piglet noticed something frozen in the ice. It appeared to be a seed. Could it be a whoopee flower seed by any chance? If only Piglet could melt the ice to find out. How could Piglet possibly reach Pooh? Ah, yes. He needed something to carry him across. Under his feet, Piglet noticed the smallest of holes, the ideal place to plant a seed. The rope was far too high. How could one as small as Piglet possibly reach it? The whoopee flower was far too tall for Piglet to get on top of it. If only he could find something to climb on, then he'd be able to bounce right up to Tigger's house. From there, Piglet would be able to use the empty honey pot as a boat again. On the archery stand, a dart was set right in the centre, but not set very firmly. The giant balloon was blocking Piglet's path. What he needed was something sharp that would burst it. What do you suppose that could be? Once planted in the ground, the seed would need water if it was to grow properly. Ah, yes, this is where you can start your adventure, at the spot where you last left it. The small rock before him would certainly be useful, if only Piglet could find a way to pry it up. The tree between the two islands was very wobbly, so much so that it would take only a small bump to knock it over. From there, Piglet would be able to help Owl remember what he needed to make the crossing. As Pooh slept, Piglet became the hero of Pooh Bear's dream world. If you would like to begin a new adventure, just stop and talk to our very industrious friend, Gopher. Should you like to see your friends from the 100-acre wood and enter their dreams, just look through this telescope. Once Owl fell asleep, Piglet became the hero of Owl's dream world as well. As Owl was still awake, he was not dreaming. So Piglet would have to wait to become a hero in Owl's dream world. As little Roo slept, Piglet became the hero of Roo's dream world. Now, as Eeyore was still awake, he was not dreaming. And Piglet could not yet become a hero in Eeyore's dream world. And so Piglet proved himself the true hero he was by helping his friend. Piglet faced his fears, and he was now no longer frightened of heffalumps and woozles. Now it was their turn to run away, as Piglet tried to catch them all. Now that Rabbit was asleep, Piglet became the hero of Rabbit's dreams. As Rabbit was not yet asleep, Piglet would have to wait a short while to become a hero in Rabbit's dream world. For Piglet to become the hero of Tigger's dreams, our friend Tigger would have to fall asleep. And so Piglet was going to be a hero, and not only in the dreams of his dear friends. This time Piglet would be a hero for real. Piglet had just recovered an empty honey pot. Tigger was finally sleeping, so Piglet was able to become the hero of Tigger's dreams. Once Eeyore fell asleep, Piglet became the hero of Eeyore's dream world as well. By filling the honey pot, Piglet knew that he would make his good friend Pooh very happy. Piglet had found a candle. All that honey will certainly make one Pooh Bear very happy. The candle's flame was exactly what Piglet would need should he have to melt something. Rabbit had just given Piglet a key, and so, at last, Piglet had filled his honey pot. Piglet thought the lollipop stick might be quite handy. Ah, yes, Kanga has given a key to Piglet. The lollipop stick would play a rather large part in helping Piglet rescue one of his friends. This key could be just what Piglet needed to open the lock cupboard at Rabbit's house. Piglet had just picked up a jar of glue, an eraser. Now, this would be useful, should there be any paper about. A piece of cardboard. Why, that will certainly be useful. The key to Roo's playroom. Now Piglet had just to open the door, and his friend was free. Glue is exactly what piglets need to repair things. Now erasers are most useful for erasing things, aren't they? Correctly used, this cardboard could come in quite handy. With this piece of wood, Piglet should now be able to repair the ladder and retrieve Roo's ball. A piece of wood. Piglet will surely find a use for this. A small key. Now that's a very useful sort of thing to find. Oh my, a piece of treasure map. If only our friend Piglet could find the remainder of the map. Ah, yes, this is one of Owl's lost paintings. This painting was one of those lost by Owl. All Piglet had to do was to bring it back to him. If Piglet came across a bottle, he would now be able to open it. A small key is just what one would need to open a small lock. A rusty old key. Now, what do you suppose it could be used for? The flame-violet candle could surely be used to melt things if it was giving off a lot of heat. A rusty old key must surely fit a rusty old lock. As it was quite heavy, Piglet was unable to ring the bell. He would need to find something on which to hang it. And so Piglet managed to catch the feather. So Piglet picked up the corkscrew. Although it was very heavy, Piglet managed to pick up the bell. Finally, Piglet managed to release the valve. An oil lamp would be most useful for relighting flames that have gone out. What could Piglet do with this feather? Perhaps he could tickle someone or something. If he ever came across a fountain that needed to be shut off, Piglet would now have just the thing to do it. And so Roo very kindly gave his oil lamp to his good friend Piglet. If Piglet ever needed to move many small things a short distance, this is exactly what he would need. Piglet had found a shovel, a sack of seeds, and so Piglet retrieved the cog. Piglet picked up what appeared to be an autumn leaf symbol. Now this was not just any seed. No, this was bird seed. There was no doubt in Piglet's mind that a certain painting was missing its leaf symbol. Piglet pondered on which piece of mechanism this crank could be used to start. A winter picture was obviously missing its snowflake symbol. Removing leaves from the path is always important on a blustery day. Luckily, Piglet had borrowed the broom. A cog is only usable with other cogs in machinery, like Rabbit's extractor, and Piglet found what seemed to be a sun symbol. Undoubtedly, this sun symbol belongs to a larger painting. Piglet borrowed the snowman's broom, and he didn't mind a bit. Now then, Piglet had found a crank. For the whoopee flower to grow, it would have to be planted in just the right place. And so our brave little friend would be able to fly, thanks to his lucky find, the balloon. Piglet then picked up a ticket. So Piglet picked up what appeared to be a snowflake symbol. And this honey pot would make one bear we know very happy. Piglet had found a balloon at the carnival. Piglet now had a full honey pot. Yes, Rabbit was very happy, and to thank his dear friend, he gave Piglet a kettle of hot water. Hot water! Now isn't that just what's needed for melting ice? A magnetic magnet. How useful! And so Piglet rescued the whoopee flower seed that had been frozen in the ice. Brave little Piglet succeeded in removing the dart, an entry ticket to the carnival. Now Piglet could go in. Piglet needed to take care, for the dart was very sharp and could burst things. Now, as Tigger would say, attracting metal objects is what magnets do best. Now, who could make use of a seed for a very large carrot? Why, Rabbit, of course. Could that be Roo's ball? Piglet wondered if kicking the ball could help the situation. Now Piglet could relight candlesticks that had blown out. Now, this is no time to think of food. Perhaps it's this empty honey pot that could save the day. Piglet had found a seed for a large carrot. Was this a carrot Piglet had found? Ah, yes, a paintbrush. But how could Piglet help Owl? Surely Owl's memory book would have the answer. Now, a paintbrush may have other uses than just painting. Do you suppose it could be used as a lever? My. An empty honey pot. Why, it's Owl's memory book. One lonely carrot. This might be just what Piglet needs to save Rabbit.